faith, firearms, and freedom. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Folks, welcome to another episode of Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran. This is episode number 370. And thank you all so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. This is episode 370. It is our July online hangout for July of 2023. And in just a few minutes, I'll be bringing in some members of the Reformation Gun Club, the people who make the show possible. The Reformation Gun Club, for those of you who don't know, is our membership site. And we are not sponsored. We don't have any advertising. We rely on the great people who are members of our Reformation Gun Club and their annual and monthly dues that help pay the bills and keep the lights on here at Armed Lutheran Radio. If you would like to be a part of a future online hangout, if you would like to find out all the benefits of being a member, check out armedlutheran.us/gun club and sign up today. For as little as $15.17 per year, you can get all kinds of cool benefits, access to lots of exclusive content, including last week's episode 369, and invitations to hangouts like this, and to hang out with some really cool people who I'm going to bring in now. Let's see, we've got 6 folks in here. Start bringing them in. There we go. We got Stuart, who's hanging out on the steps of where that looks like. What are you in Constantinople? What are you doing? He can't hear me. Dan is here with us. David Scott is with us. Steve Clifford has toys, apparently. That's very cool. And Scott Van Dorsten is also with us. Donnie Ross is joining us as well. How is everyone? I can't hear anyone.
Oh, good.
There we go.
Nobody was talking.
Nobody was talking.
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you now.
Excellent. Excellent. So, there we go. Dan missed our last hangout. So let's start with you, sir. What have you been up to? You're out of focus. There it goes.
There it goes. Oh, it's oh geez, where do I start? Last weekend was a mid-range rifle match.
Ooh.
Hadn't reconnected with some old friends. Okay, and they're like, Dan, come, Dan, come, Dan, come, and that's okay. And
you finally gave in to the peer pressure?
I gave in to the peer pressure. I did. Loaded up some 25 caliber and went to Butner.
Okay.
And not too bad. Okay. Everything held together at 600 yards pretty well. Okay. Kind of finished in the middle of the pack. And so I'm like, man, I'll take it. I'll
take your first time shooting a long range match?
No.
Or it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah. I think the last time I was up there was like 06 or something, because I mean, I was still heavily involved in the Boy Scouts, and you can't do everything.
Right. Oh, I know.
Yeah. Locally,
going up. Here we go.
Locally, I've been, like on Tuesday nights, I've been, at this, the local club meetup, and they're all about pistol training in that. And we've been doing these different qualification courses, just for the giggles of it. A couple of weeks ago was the FBI small arms qualification course. And
Okay.
that was really pretty fun. A lot of fire 2 rounds, change magazines, fire 2 more. Um, fire 4 rounds here, fire 4 rounds there in 70 seconds. With a reload. A lot of stuff that you really never do. Unless it's like at a match or something like this.
Sorry, I was distracted by David's background.
Yeah.
I will not.
Yeah.
Oh, Simpsons.
Man, it's looking like Steve's got a worthy rifle for a long range match. Looking like Scott's got something
Yep.
that's
Can't wait to
worthy
see
for
what
a
they've got
yes,
going on
sir.
here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin has not been with us. Kevin, you haven't been with us in one of these hangouts before, I don't believe. So say hello to the gang. You've been a member for a while. Say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us what you've been up to. Oh, his microphone's not working. So, Mike, well, all right, Kevin, you get your, oh, there he goes. Okay, so he's not.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah, I'm not real good at this Zoom stuff. I I never had to, work remotely. I had to show up for work, so I never learned how to use this stuff.
Don't feel you're by yourself.
These guys are used to it now after many moons of doing this. And I work remotely at home, so I do this all the time, not with Zoom, but with Microsoft Teams, so which is very similar and more annoying. Um, so tell everybody where are you and what do you do for a living if you want to share that info and what have you been up to lately, especially if it's gun related.
Uh, I am in Marion, Iowa. Um, I am a retired materials and process engineer, and I haven't done anything but carry around a weapon for a long time. So I haven't done anything fancy or special.
All
So
right. Marion, I'm trying to remember where Marion is. My
it's a
parent.
suburb of Cedar Rapids.
Waterloo.
Okay.
Yeah.
My parents lived in Webster City for a while before I was
Okay.
born, and my dad preached at a parish there, and that was obviously many, many moons ago. Well, I've been to Iowa for an IDPA match, and that was the longest drive I've ever, well, it wasn't longer than the drive back home to North Carolina to visit family, but it felt like it. It's just
Yeah.
Mike, what are you up to? You missed our last hangout. You had more important stuff going on, obviously. So what have you been up to?
Not much, primarily work and busy season at work right now, and just trying to help out with some stuff at church. But otherwise, just getting caught up, and yeah, otherwise not too much. Nothing firearms related. I need to get to the range. Haven't been there in, oh gosh, 2-3 months at least, if not more.
My neighbor invited me to go with him to the range. He's a member out at the club where I used to have a membership, and he was like, "I may go out there today," and it was like 104, and I was like, "Um, that sounds great. Call me when it's about 30 degrees cooler."
Exactly.
It's been a killer.
It really
Yeah.
has. Donnie, how are you, sir?
Doing well. A lot has happened since I've been on here. Most notable, I go out and shoot my pistols.
Right?
That was a month ago. It was just before we had the hangout. Didn't happen. And the next week I was up fishing in Montana fishing. But Peter, my son Peter, who's also a member here, he actually got a summer village on Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. So he's got one more week left there, and he comes back, and then he starts his second year of seminary. But and I had abdominal surgery, and you should have that done 3 days before Easter because I had no appetite on all the good Easter food we had to eat.
Oh,
So
no.
let's just say I no longer have an outie, and I now have an innie.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it went well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pastor Bennett was going to be here with us, but he had surgery yesterday, I think it was. So he's not able to be with us, or he said he was going to join us if he felt like it, but I told him not to push it. He had, I think it was sinus surgery. So prayers for him and his recovery. And Donnie, I'm glad you're recovered and doing well. All right, let's get to.
I got I've been fishing, and I'm back to where I can lift almost anything. So, but Easter was the pastor actually brought me communion in the pew.
And you missed out on all the food. That stinks. Well, you'll have to double down next time.
Yeah.
Scott, how are you?
I'm doing well.
How's the shop?
The shop's going well. It's still slowly building, but getting a steady influx. I had a fellow scout rifle fan, Lutheran brother, and hopefully soon to be a member of the Reformation Gun Club come through town. Mike, if you're listening, hi. He dropped off a couple of rifles for me to throw some iron sights on for him.
Nice.
And had a few other people finding me through that. And I just got done doing converting a Smith & Wesson Model 19-2. It went from a 6-inch barrel to a 3.5-inch barrel.
That's
guy wants to use it for concealed carry. So I cut it down, duplicate the Smith & Wesson crown, and install an XD style front sight base. And so that's actually went pretty well. And then I've been at the range here and there test firing guns. And I was RSO for the long range Saturday last couple weekends ago. So our local gun club, I'm one of the RSOs out there, and we have Thursdays and Saturday. I call it Saturday on the Hill because the long range is up on a hill.
Right.
And
Nice.
So I was RSO out there, and I took a buddy's gun out to shoot because I really don't have a gun that's set up for long range. Most of mine are short, compact scout rifles, which I've taken out to 500 yards. And once you know how to do it, it's not that hard. But it's really not a long range gun. So took his. But I think next time, because everybody keeps telling me I got to come out. I'm like, fine, I'm just going to come out with my scout rifle and watch you guys cry when I hit the targets.
Cool. Steve, tell us about the toy you got in front of you there. How are you, by the way?
I'm well, thank you. And I'm out on my back porch tonight because everyone inside is sleeping already. I hope the unruly bugs aren't coming through the audio too much. But no, my thing lately has been this project. I have two YouTube channels, but one is devoted to firearms.
Okay.
And I've been working for the last year and a half now, trying to work out how to get a scout rifle out to 1,000 yards.
Okay.
So
when you figure that out, tell Scott.
Well, yeah, actually, Scott and I, if you remember last time, I met Scott. I've been at Whittington Center twice with Scott. We've shot together. He and his wife out there just having a great time doing some scout rifle classes. But this scout rifle is the one that I brought out there. But I've made some changes to it, most notably just put on a scope that is capable of doing a lot longer range work. So a few weeks ago, I finally got it into the condition that I thought would actually work, and put it to the test. And I shot a class and then a mentor match all the way out to 1,200 yards with this thing. And yeah, it'll do it. It's a lot more comfortable inside 800, but out to 800, this thing I am very confident with. Out past 800, it can do it, but not nearly with the confidence that I would like. So it's tremendous fun. I really feel it's been a successful venture.
Awesome. All right. David, how are you, sir? I'm going to mute Steve because I got some feedback.
Yeah, doing fine. Latest gun-related things. Won $50 at the Glock match in Kentucky.
Ooh.
Back in June. Yeah, random. But
I never win anything, so I'm envious. And the one thing I did win, I had left early and didn't get to claim.
Yeah, you mentioned that on one of your podcasts way back in the day.
That's been a while. So how did you do at the match?
Well, I had two entries. One, so my par time that I'm trying to work with is 100 seconds for the match.
Right.
That's not fantastic. It's solidly in the middle of the pack.
Right.
But so I had one, I think it was 85 or an 87, and then a 115. So a little slow on one and a little better on the other.
Okay. Which Glocks are you using?
So the Glock 34 was the one where I did better.
Okay.
That's my
Makes
gun
sense.
that I've got really well dialed in, and I trust it to be dialed in. This was the first match I shot a 43X.
Okay.
And so I was a little slower on that because I wasn't quite sure. So the plate racks did me in for that extra 15, 20 seconds. Because it took me just to be comfortable that I was going to hit it and it was going to place where I wanted it. I just didn't shoot it confidently. So, but it's a nice gun.
Oh, yeah.
And I have since had it to the range a couple of times, and it's pretty well dialed in now. So I shouldn't be hesitating.
43X 43X is the longer grip, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's longer than a 43. Yeah.
Okay. It's sort of like basically all the X stuff, the 19X, the 43X, they did they did the reverse of what would seem to make sense for concealed carry, and instead of having the full length with the shorter grip, they did the shorter length with the full grip, so it's harder to conceal. Doesn't make sense.
Their naming convention and random number generators have very high similarity.
Glock perfection.
I actually like the 46. I'm not a big Glock fan, but I actually do like the 46. I'm sorry, the 43X.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's great. I have a Holosun 507 day on it.
Especially, I have large hands, so having a larger grip, it is quite beneficial to me.
Right.
It feels a lot like my 19s. So which are also pretty well dialed in. But
it seems like it's balanced. It seems like it's balanced a little better than the M&P, the small ones, the Shield.
Mm-hmm. Interesting thing, my wife is a lefty, and so if she shoots the Shield, it hits on her hand. The swell that's supposed to help you register your fingers, it hits on her hand funny. And so she's never been comfortable shooting a shield. So that's why we don't have any of those at home. But but that was the big thing. Have an interesting class coming up. Dan, you mentioned shooting the qualifiers. That's a high interest to me. But we've got a class coming up for our church security team. We have a group called Triad Solutions, I think it's the name of it, out of Florida, and they're doing a class on how to do a gun handling in a crowd.
Ooh.
So specifically how to do that so for example, to index the gun here or to index in Sewell position, which I had read about, but I had never used in a competition setting. But I took the class back in March, first time, and we liked it so much we're bringing it out to our church. They've already filled 38 positions in the first class and have opened up a second class that day. Nice. Because it's so, so they're going to do that at our church. And then there's going to be, later on in August, there's going to be a mock trial. U.S. Law Shield's doing a thing where they're bringing in an attorney and they're going to do a case, a self-defense case. That ought to be really good.
Very cool.
The U.S. Law Shield attorney goes to our church.
You've got connections.
He's setting that up. Well, it's an odd thing, but he chose to come to our church because we're rather active in those circles. It's weird to say that somebody came to church because of your stance on gun firearms, but
the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Finished up your book, Duty to Defend, reading a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome.
So that was nice.
Great.
Yeah, I was just reading a little bit of it along part of my quiet time in the morning.
Awesome.
Just an extra chapter of that every once in a while.
Hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Oh, I did.
Good deal. All right, Stuart, where are you, or where is this backdrop you've got behind you? This is it.
That's the Lutheran Cathedral in Helsinki.
Aha. Okay.
The Tsar paid for it back in the 1850s.
Okay.
I haven't done anything. I keep meaning to go join a gun club around here, and I haven't got around to it. Of course, it's sort of like you. It's a little bit warm.
Yeah.
I mean, the heat index when I came in a little bit ago, it was still 102 or something like that. Yeah, it is what it is.
Walk outside and start swimming in your own sweat. That's the one thing I like about Texas. It feels like you've walked into an oven, but it doesn't feel like you can't breathe the minute you step outside. Growing up in North Carolina, summers in North Carolina were just like, you step out on the porch and then it's like, okay, I need to go change shirts. I'm sweating myself to death. Okay, let's go around the horn. Stuart, since you were last up and you were just taking a swig, I'm
drinking after my 5-course meal dinner, not of a hamburger, French fries. I'm having Deuse cognac. It's the one that has the reason I got it originally was because it has the cross of Saint Lorraine on it. The Free French cross from World War II.
Right.
And it's not bad.
Okay. So it just jumped out at you on the shelf, and I said, I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much cheaper here in Florida than back in bloody awful Washington.
I don't doubt that. Dan, what are you drinking this evening? What's your beverage of choice?
Angel's Envy.
Your favorite.
Out of the bullet glass.
Perfect.
Actually, my son brought it over. It's like oh, here, Dad, a little gift, you know.
You've been nursing that bottle for a while now.
Yeah.
Those bottles aren't cheap, so you got to make it last.
Exactly.
I just decided to try a local beer, Kolsch from Allstat Brewery in Fredericksburg, Texas. It's not bad. Scott, what are you imbibing this evening?
I'm drinking a rye whiskey from Crowbar Distillery.
Okay. Local?
And it's, what's that?
Local distillery or?
This is one I found out in Paso Robles when I was out there for Weatherby for 4 months.
Oh, okay.
So it's a Paso Robles, California company. And it is just vanilla, honey, and caramel. It's delicious.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it's really really nice. It's one of the better ryes I've had.
Okay. Crowbar, and that's KR. That
Krobar.
funky line over the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they will find a way to ship it to you.
Okay. I'm not sure whether Texas will do that, but then again, I worked all weekend over 4th of July last year.
Yeah.
On an upgrade, and my project manager sent me a bottle of whiskey as a thank you. So
well, it's you got to order a bottle of olive oil.
Hide it with the contraband, right? There you go. That sounds awesome. It sounds like something they would do down at the border. Steve, what about you? You're sitting out you're in Virginia. What is the temperature like this time of night on your porch?
The temperature has dropped a bit. We finally had a front come through. It was 100 degrees earlier today and just miserable. 100 miserable degrees. I'm thinking it's down into the low 80s right about now. And I am drinking some Texas blended. TX blended whiskey. I mentioned this last time. You guys, this makes up for a lot from Texas. I will forgive you for all of the Dallas Cowboy fans for giving us this whiskey. This is incredible stuff.
We have some awesome distilleries here in Texas. That is true.
Man, and it's not that expensive. It's, up here in Virginia, it's almost impossible to find. But if you order it from our local ABC, it's about $37 a bottle. Really strong on the vanilla flavors to it. Very, very smooth, almost dangerously smooth. So yeah, big fan of the Texas blended whiskey.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you like our whiskeys, and I apologize for our Cowboys fans. I can't stand them either.
All right, we'll let it slide.
We'll let it slide this time. David, how about you? What are you partaking of tonight?
Well, you need to explain to them what is Southern House wine.
Southern House wine.
Oh, come on. North Carolina, and you don't know that? It's iced tea.
Dan's gonna well, okay. I never heard it referred to like that. When we had Southern House wine, it was not.
It was not iced tea.
It was not iced tea.
Okay, maybe it's Baptist Southern House wine.
I was going yes, it's probably Baptist. I was thinking like muscadine wine. What are we talking about here?
I was thinking of mead or something. But that'd be more of a northern thing.
Can't go wrong with some good Southern iced tea. I had to actually go to a match in Arkansas to get real iced tea, Southern iced tea when we moved here. Because everywhere you go, you order iced tea and you tell them you want sweet tea. And it's basically pond water with tea essence. It's not good.
No. So the trick behind Southern iced tea is to put the sugar
Half a bag of
into
sugar.
the. Well, no. Oh, I can't stand it when it's too sweet. Um, the trick is to put the sugar into the water and tea while it's still warm. So then when it cools, it's a totally different thing than adding sugar to tea that's already cold. So
Yep. Awesome stuff. I grew up on it. My mom used to brew it all the time, and it was like, as soon as I moved to Texas and got what we call tea here, it was, ugh, I was homesick. But went to Arkansas, went to a match, and they had their catering company for the mid-match meal was Southern Comfort Food, and it was actual sweet tea. And it was the first time I'd had any since we moved to Texas. It was awesome. Then I wanted to sleep for the rest of the match.
a little caffeine. This is really a decaffeinated version, actually, because my wife is caffeine sensitive.
Well, it was all that Southern. It was catfish and fried chicken and barbecue and real Southern comfort food. And we chowed down, and then it was like, okay, we got to shoot, six more stages, and one more stage in, and I was just like, okay, I want to go to the truck and lie down.
Yeah, food coma.
Exactly. Donnie, how about you? What are you partaking of this evening?
Well, it's some rock and rye from the Glacier Distillery in
Okay.
It's like we stocked up when we were up there a couple of weeks ago.
Rock and rye. I think you've mentioned that before. I think I put that on my list once before.
I've had it but I ran out, so it's restocked now.
All right, good. Mike has always got interesting choices. Can't wait to hear what you got. And now that I've called you out on that, it's probably going to be something utterly mundane.
No, not really. This is something that was it's homemade actually with Everclear. I made moonshine with strawberry rhubarb.
Okay.
So you actually juice the strawberries and juice the rhubarb, and yeah.
Okay.
Add some high octane Everclear to it and let it ferment, let it simmer for a while, and it's really good on a hot day.
You've got really bad memories of Everclear in college.
We all have bad memories of Everclear. We were all in college once, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This may change your mind if you like strawberry and rhubarb.
I swore never again. Kevin, what have you got?
Oh boy, I'm a newbie. I forgot to bring something here.
Oh no!
Yeah, I've got a
that's
really
your homework
nice
for next time.
got a really nice single malt upstairs that's from a local distillery, the only distillery in Iowa. So,
okay.
Cedar Ridge. It's just about 10 miles down the road from here.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the rye? Or is it just called Cedar Ridge, or is that the name of the distillery?
Yeah, the distillery is Cedar Ridge, and it's the only bourbon they have.
Okay. All right. Well, cheers, everyone. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Thoughts on gun control and Mr. Biden and his wayward son and that ridiculous sweetheart deal that he was about to get that fell through this week.
Yay.
Well, it fell through because did you hear why it fell through?
Yeah, because it wasn't going to clear him from any future prosecutions.
Well,
right.
Yeah, but that's a lie anyway. They weren't going to have any future prosecutions. They just said that there might be so that they could always say, well, there's an ongoing investigation, so they wouldn't have to answer questions to a congressional committee. But by actually saying that there is an investigation, that leaves open the possibility. So they torch their own little sweetheart deal through this whole semantics thing of trying to avoid testifying before a congressional committee. It's sick. It is just a double layer of justice.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think they're using it to try and keep Biden from running again. I think they're going to use it as leverage. Like, hey, if you run, because this pushed everything back closer to the election now. And so they can say, it's like, hey, if you run, all this stuff's going to be coming out about your son and not registering as a foreign agent and kickbacks to your family.
Well, they'd worked that immunity, though, into his plea deal. They tried to sneak that into the plea deal on the gun charges. And the judge discovered it and was like, wait a minute, what is this? This is probably not constitutional. And as I recall her saying, it was probably not worth the paper it was written on. That was her words.
The gun charge was funny because the normally in a plea deal, the Justice Department is the one that gets to determine whether or not he's lived up to the standards of the plea deal.
So the Justice Department was in on clearing him, basically, and
yes, but they were worried that over the next 2 years there might be a Republican Justice Department that might turn around and charge him. So they said, well, no, in this plea deal, instead of the Justice Department determining that, it's going to be the judge who determines it. And she said, that's why it's unconstitutional. You can't leave me. I'm in the judicial branch of government.
Right.
The judicial branch can't be a prosecutor, and that's what you're asking me to do. So she caught them on that. And they were trying to avoid a Republican Justice Department down the road from turning around and saying, no, you didn't live up to the terms of the plea deal.
It just gets better and better. It's this administration is just absolutely a clown show, and the longer it goes, the worse it gets. The more we discover about Hunter and his bags of cash, and apparently threatening everybody with daddy sitting next to me. That's going to be really interesting with what's coming up in 2024, because Democrats are kind of stuck with Biden. I mean, I don't know, they trotted out Kamala Harris more than usual this last week, which I don't really understand. Are they trying to make her more popular just in case? Which is not working, because the more
I don't
people
even think
her,
Kamala Harris likes Kamala Harris.
Did you hear her talking about AI? It's kind of, how did she put it? It's kind of complicated. She's
like, yes, Kamala, it's more complicated than sitting on the mayor's lap.
She is just...
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. It might be as complicated as, like, whose cocaine is in the White House.
Yeah.
We all know whose cocaine that was. Everybody in the country knows whose cocaine that was. And the fact that they won't tell us whose cocaine it was tells us exactly whose cocaine it was.
It's still under investigation.
But at least now we know that the Secret Service is not capable of lifting fingerprints.
That's insane. They just... in order to protect the Bidens, they're willing to basically just completely torch their own credibility. It's just amazing how bad our government agencies are, how corrupt they are to the core.
They don't care.
No.
They don't care because they know that the media doesn't care. And as long as the media never asks a serious question, they'll get away with it. They don't care. It is completely irrelevant if we all know, because they have the backing of a compliant media. I'm on a soapbox tonight, aren't I?
You're absolutely right, too.
Sorry.
No, that's great. Because, and I have actually been surprised at the pushback that Karine Jean-Pierre has gotten in some of her press conferences, even from the leftist press, because even they can't stomach the answers that they're getting. Like they want her to come out and say no, to actually deny this or make a statement on that or what, but she won't, and she just keeps saying we've been very clear, but we haven't been very clear, or I'm going to refer you to the Justice Department on that. Like the question she got the other day, Donnie must have dropped it, and he's back again. There's two of him. He's cloned himself. Um, she got a question the other day about, does the president believe that people who violate gun laws should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? Hint, hint, alluding to what Hunter's done. And she said, well, that's part of an ongoing investigation. I will, and which was not the question. I will refer you to the Justice Department on that question. That's not what they asked. They didn't ask about Hunter, and she basically connected the dots for everyone. It's so embarrassing how bad this administration has become, and some of us saw it from. Well, I'm sure all of us saw it 2 years ago, 3 years. Well, has it been 2 years that we've been dealing with Biden since? Oh my God.
We've been dealing with Biden since 91. And yes, he's never been a good guy.
No, he's been.
Buddy awful Biden's been there since 72.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just.
He was an incompetent crook back then. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
No wonder his kid is so screwed up. Look who the dad is.
Yeah.
But he's a good Catholic,
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Well, that says a little something about how good Catholics are, I guess. It's not a very good.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, they
endorsement.
went through a whole lot of ups and downs about whether to deny him communion or not because of his stand on abortion.
The local diocese, him and Pelosi were denied, and then the Pope's like, "Oh no, it's okay."
Yeah.
Pope's an idiot.
Pope Frankie.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to slide on out of here. Today is my 40th anniversary.
And you chose to spend it with us?
Yeah.
Well, no, I just got to slide back into anniversarying. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think we're all going to have to send his wife flowers.
Yes. Oh, God, she has plenty.
We need to work on your priorities, sir.
Yeah. Quick word on that. A local radio personality said, Neil Bortz said, a long marriage is the ultimate status symbol. You cannot purchase it for any price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, congratulations,
Okay,
Dan.
go.
And
sign off.
Tell her happy anniversary from all of us.
Oh,
Congratulations.
She's a pretty good kid, Actually, she's been around for about 48 years, really. Okay.
Wait a minute. You started dating her when she was 8?
18.
Okay, all right. So I was trying to piece this all together. You got to.
I was doing that math too.
Yeah, 18.
Okay, so you were dating her 8 years before you got married. I got it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Finally.
Okay. Don't go the news anchor route and try and pull me into something,
I don't think we pulled you into anything.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till you hear the audio on this when this comes out on a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah. All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Happy anniversary. We'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness.
Have you seen the shenanigans the ATF is pulling with the 80% lowers?
Which shenanigans are those? I know there's been all kinds of shenanigans. What's the latest?
It was ruled that the ATF ruling banning 80% lowers is unconstitutional.
Okay.
It was sent up to a circuit court for appeal, and it was denied there. So instead of going through the next appeals process, they're seeking an emergency judgment by the Supreme Court to either put in a temporary stay so that they can still, because apparently 80% lowers are such a danger to society that it can't wait. So they have to keep the ban in place. And if they don't agree to keep the ban in place, that they ask for an emergency ruling on it. So, which I don't understand them going that route. I mean, it's like, what point do you just say, "Hey, we're not going to win this battle," because it's like the current Supreme Court's not going to side with them
No.
on this. It's
They
like,
need to clarify the wording and get it right instead of keep fighting over the stupidity.
yeah,
I mean, the whole thing has been written so poorly from the start. I
Yeah.
mean, half the stuff in the NFA is just dumb anyway. The whole short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns and what constitutes firing components of the gun that has to be serialized, all that stuff. And to be honest, it needs to go to the legislation and get rid of the ATF. And
that would be nice. That'd
that
make
would be
my life
nice.
easier.
And if they would actually do, but they won't do that because that endangers their jobs and their power. So that's not going to happen unless we get somebody in office who will actually, clean the swamp instead of just twiddling his finger in it.
The only one I've heard that actually has, and he'd never win right now, but I'm hoping he might make it as vice president, is Ravik Ramaswamy.
Yes. He has.
Because I mean,
He
he's got
actually
a
has
good
a plan.
He actually has a plan. He's like, we're not going to go in and we're not going to try and close down these agencies. I'm just going to do mass layoffs and then choose which ones I want to rebuild.
Yep. And he explained, I remember in that interview, I don't know who he was talking to. He was talking about how he has, was it Jordan Peterson? Maybe?
Might have been Jordan, might have been Tim Cast if you watch him.
I haven't seen Tim Cast in a while, but I think that's where I saw him. And he was talking about how, yeah, you can make all these promises about how you're going to drain the swamp. Well, I actually have a plan, and here's how I'm going to do it. And I have, as president, I would have the authority to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And he's going to axe 5 government agencies on day one, he says, and here's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I like is because he's actually taken the time. It's like, okay, the president has certain powers, but not other powers. Like he can't specifically target a person and fire that person.
Right.
But he can do a mass layoff of the entire, division of the government. It's like, no, this is just a, what did he call it? A managerial, layoff decision. It's not not targeting anybody. We're just, 50% of the people got laid off.
Right. Nothing personal, but you're all fired.
Yeah. And it's like the president has that power, and it is, and it's established that he does have that power. He can do those type of layoffs. And then it's up to the president to decide if or who they rehire,
Right.
So there are certain agencies that it's like, well, I just do a massive layoff, and there are certain agencies that I just would never restaff. So they're essentially dead.
And that's something you got to do that first term. You get elected.
Yeah.
You can't wait Obama. And thankfully he didn't do this, but Obama had House and Senate and could have enacted very, very strict gun control and didn't do it. And then by the time the midterms rolled around and he'd lost control of Congress, there was no way anything was going to get passed. And that's why he started doing the executive orders. If you get a president in there who will actually do that and do it up front and get it knocked out, that would be fantastic. That alone makes me consider voting for him.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm not going to ask you who you would vote, who you're voting for, but who has impressed you thus far? And what do you think the ultimate outcome is going to be on the Republican side? Yeah. Yeah.
I am.
I'm asking a really easy question here.
Yeah, I'm for Trump, and I think he would be even more effective this time than he was the first time, just because he would no longer have to worry about rerunning.
Okay.
He's turned out, so he could just do the job. And as far as the competition, I mean, he's the only one that, the conservatives and the people who are just tired of it are really getting behind. DeSantis has just been a flop with, his PR has just been a ridiculous flop. And he doesn't invoke any energy in his speeches. He's very dull. And it's like, look, I know you've done a good job as governor of Florida, but you're just not showing it to us in your running. So
Unfortunately, running for president is not about your actual skill as an administrator or a governor. It is all about popularity, which is why we get people who are just the worst.
Yeah. I think Rivik is doing a great job of getting his message out and not getting into a knife fight with Trump, which is why I think we could see him as a vice president.
Well, he's not in a knife fight with Trump because Trump doesn't see him as a threat.
Well, but he hasn't attacked anything Trump does either.
Trump is very thin-skinned, and he has spent all of his time being stupid about DeSantis instead of attacking Biden.
Yeah. Well, but then Rivik recognizes that, and so he hasn't launched any attacks against Trump. He actually is like, no, Trump did a good job. I liked him, and he supports a lot of his ideas. And he talks about how they have a lot of the same ideas, and we have a lot of the same goals. So I think he's playing a very good chess game.
Yeah,
in that realm.
Stay out from between Trump and DeSantis. Yeah.
Yep.
Kevin, in your home state, Vivek, I can't even pronounce. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Ramaswamy
got a standing ovation the other day at in your state. What do you think of the candidates and where they stack up and how this is going to ultimately shake out?
Well, I've been down here in Iowa since 2004. And every caucus that I've gone to, I've picked the wrong guy. So I'm really not the best to ask, but Vivek has been on the up and up around here. I've actually seen signs in yards for him.
Okay.
Nice. Trump did a great job, but personality-wise, I detest the man. I guess there hasn't been a lot of really discussion down here yet. That doesn't usually start until the Iowa State Fair.
Okay.
That's in a couple of weeks, and then things start rolling after that. I hate the junk mail. I get 3 pieces a day in the mailbox from different people. And it'll get to the point where you get a dozen different flyers in the mail every day. So leading up to early January, it's a mess. Just haven't gone to see anybody yet, but they'll be around.
Yep. Indeed. Mike, what do you think?
I don't know. At this point, it's a crapshoot, in my opinion. I mean, there's.
Minnesota nice answer.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I like the things Trump did. It's just he's got to keep it kind of on track sometimes, and I think that's going to be his downfall. Beyond that, there's a lot of things to shake out. I'll be honest with you, it's like I don't really pay attention until we get into fall. Things start heating up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We need something different and someone to hold their ground. Just don't know who that is yet.
It'd be
Or if we
nice
even
if it
have
was
somebody.
somebody who wasn't pushing 80. That'd be great. No offense to anybody who's anywhere close to that age, but it just seems like, I mean, watching Biden stumble around the stage and then whatever happened to McConnell the other day where he froze up.
Paper locked.
And yeah, and Pelosi's what, 82, and then
Oh,
you've got Feinstein who's in her 90s who is just not even there at all, and they're still keeping her
But
there.
we've got Chuck Grassley.
And we got Chuck Grassley. There's too many on both sides, and we just need some younger perspectives would be nice. Stuart, you've got a few thoughts, I'm sure.
I, I still have my DeSantis bumper sticker. I do live in Florida, and my DeSantis yard sign, but he has disappointed me in the last little bit. I think somebody cheery would be nice, like Tim Scott. Trump, he's a criminal, and he shitted on the Constitution, so I have nothing to do with him. That's why I won't vote for a Democrat either. They're all the same. He used the Constitution for his toilet paper. I have no use for that. You know,
Tim Scott would be an interesting choice. I've liked what I've seen of Tim. I wish he could gain some traction, and I don't understand why he doesn't seem to.
He's too cheerful.
We need somebody ugly and nasty and spiteful to
No, we don't. We need to go
the attention.
Somebody who brings positiveness to the country.
Yeah, I think
not keep saying those evil MAGA Republicans or those evil Scott Republicans. I don't know. You know,
MAGA.
Great again is a good thing. Just because Biden's an idiot and he craps on the Constitution too, like all Democrats. And so, anyway, I have no opinions.
It would be nice to have some newer. I'm glad to see Tim Scott in the ring. I hope he does well. And I like Vivek from what I've seen of him. And if for no other reason that he's younger and has some fresh ideas.
Younger, good.
Yes.
You know, going back to Mitch McConnell and Feinstein, you know what? Or Fetterman. You know, when I had a stroke, I retired. I had to. You know, my brain wasn't going to be good enough. I had to get rid of my big pickup because I made mistakes. And a person's got to know their limitations. And these jackasses who stay in because they're there, or they run because they're very impaired, they need to be gone. And people need to wake up. That's the thing. The people in those states need to wake up.
Well, with Fetterman especially, I don't understand. I blame that on his wife. I think the wife is despicable to continue to push him to do
Fetterman?
what he's doing. Yeah, with that impairment, and this has nothing to do with his politics, but the fact that he can't put sentences together, and people are still pushing him to run when they had an opportunity to replace him with somebody who was probably going to win anyway. Oz was a terrible candidate, and they continued to push him, and they continue to keep Feinstein in her position, despite the fact that if she were to resign tomorrow, there'd be a Democrat in that seat the next day, because you've got a Democrat governor who would pick her successor.
They're afraid of getting too many Cortezes is the problem.
Are they afraid of Cortezes, or are they like power hungry?
I think they're afraid of Cortezes because, I mean, whether it's, any Democrat will help keep them in power. But it's the Cortezes who are just absolute morons and wouldn't even, don't know how to govern, at all. I mean, okay, we all hate Pelosi, but at least she knows how to play the game.
Oh, you're talking about
politics and govern.
Yeah.
Whereas Cortez is just a buffoon.
I have a friend that's a Democrat, and she would love to be on the Supreme Court because that way she could be in power until she dies.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, why would you want to be doing that when you're 80 some years old? And she's like, wouldn't it be great? You could be making decisions until you die. And I was like, that's a pretty power hungry kind of point of view.
That's very selfish, self-centered way of looking at it.
So I don't know. I kind of look at it as like they love the power. They like being in control.
You don't get rich on the salaries that they pay you in Washington, but somehow they all do. So there's a
insider
profit motive
trading
involved.
is legal for politicians.
Yes.
Yeah, but so is bribery. But look at Biden.
Well, what's his name? Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, but he wrote
his number one best-selling book that I would really like to see some receipts of who bought all those books. It wasn't the people. Tell me some campaign contributor didn't buy 1 million copies of his book and just drive it to the dump.
Kind of like Hillary's books.
Yeah.
Or artwork by Hunter.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, there really isn't a politician.
It's crap.
It is, but the people who are buying it are doing it to ingratiate themselves to the family, right? So one of the biggest buyers of Hunter's art is now in the Biden administration, and shortly after buying the art was given the job. So it's all a con game. It's all insider trading, whether you're talking stocks or whether you're talking about buying art, and it's all just trying to use your position to enrich yourself so that at the expense of the American people, and it really sucks. And it'd be nice if we could actually get somebody who would drain the swamp and not just talk about it like previous Republican candidates and presidents have said. Let's see. Donnie, you haven't chimed in on this subject yet, and I know he's on a roll tonight, so we'll save his thoughts for last.
Right now I like DeSantis. Anybody's better than who's in office right now.
Yeah. Any of them would be better. Yeah, that's true. Except for Chris Christie. Let's face it, Chris Christie sucks.
Yeah.
So there's that. But with the exception of
I don't
Chris
think
Christie,
Pence would be any good either.
hey, you talk about a guy who's boring. Oh my gosh.
And plus, he's a politician. I mean, he's just another politician. He'd be George Bush part 2 or 3, I guess it would be now.
I mean, he did govern Indiana, so he's not like Biden or some of the others who come from, a Senate or a congressional background. But then again, so did Chris Christie, and
so did George Bush.
So there's all that. Okay, Steve, you've had time to tee one up. Knock it out of the park to finish this out.
Okay. Well, so I mean, the only Republican that might possibly lose to Joe Biden is Trump. He's the only one that might possibly lose. Everybody else would win. Any of them would win. Nobody likes Biden, but everybody is psychotic about Trump. And so the Democrats have done just a wonderful job of triangulating. I mean, all these charges that they're bringing against him are to help him win the nomination. And they're trying to make sure that not only does he win the nomination, but can't win the general election. All of these charges, all of these different levels of government that are charging him with various crimes is meant specifically to make sure that Republican voters are going to say, hey, that's not fair. You can't do that to our guy. We liked him as president, and we did, and there were some good reasons for it. But they're trying to make sure that he gets the nomination, but can't possibly win the general election. and it is disgusting and despicable. I would love DeSantis. I would love, Vivek. I would love Tim Scott. Any of those guys would do a great job, but I don't think any of them have even a snowball chance in hell of getting the nomination. And it's because of all of these charges. Nobody's taken any one of these guys seriously. And no, DeSantis has not run a really good campaign so far. But even if he turned it around tomorrow, he's not going to win. He's just not. And it's because of all of these different criminal charges. And Republican voters are going to look at that and say, you're attacking us. You're attacking our guy.
That's our guy.
And he's going to get the nomination because of it.
Yeah. I'm afraid you're right. Did
I mention that even though I'm in car sales, that my degree is in political science and history?
Well, that must make conversations at the lot very interesting.
It does. I keep my mouth shut most of the time. But
yeah.
In this group, I feel like I can at least talk. And I rant. I know it.
Well, that's fine. That's awesome. And I agree. I mean, I think, with the exception of Christie's awful, Pence is.
I'm sorry, but with Christie, I mean, how corrupt do you have to be a Republican, voted to be governor of New Jersey? I mean, that alone just tells you how corrupt the guy is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know why he's there.
Republican governor of New Jersey. I mean,
yeah.
just
How much of a rhino do you have to be? And then, while Pence may be a good man, he's tarnished by all of the diehard Trump supporters who hate him.
Yep.
So even if he were to win the nomination, there's a large percentage, I think, of the base that would stay home rather than vote for him. I like the younger group. I like Vivek. I like DeSantis. I would prefer DeSantis. I think what he's done in Florida is fantastic.
Yep.
And he's got a proven track record of actually fighting against the left and not doing it not doing it the Trump way, that he backs everything up with fact, and he can actually, he's articulate.
He can, and you're right. He can not only articulate it. I mean, the guy has a genuine mastery of the subjects that he's talking about. He's not just going off the cuff. He knows this stuff,
and
that's why it's so baffling that he just can't seem to get people around him to run a decent campaign, because he knows the issues. Yeah. He can talk about them better than just about anyone right now. I love the guy, but man, that campaign is awful.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, but he also now has Trump bashing him constantly, which annoys me to no end. Not just because I like DeSantis, but because what's that old axiom about not beating up on other Republicans? And
Reagan.
That was Reagan. Yeah.
Reagan. Bad things about fellow Republicans.
And instead of attacking Biden, Trump is spending all of his time making up names for DeSantis, right, and talking about and mischaracterizing his track record in Florida. And it's all because Trump's a thin-skinned moron, in my opinion. He can't get over the fact that DeSantis is running against him. And so he's got to take him out instead of focusing on the problem, which is Biden and the Democrats. Yep. So even if he were to win, I don't see I mean, things are going to get better, but we're still going to have the same administrative state. We're still going to have the same gun control crap. We're still going to have the ATF. We're still going to have all this junk that he left in place. And what's the word I'm trying to, the beer's going to my head. Executive orders like the stupid bump stock ban, that we're going to get more of that. For all the good that Trump did in his 4 years, and there was lots of good, there's a lot of bad baggage coming with it. And if he gets the nomination, the whole reason, you're absolutely right, Steve, the whole reason that the government apparatus, the Department of Justice, and all the Democrats are out to hang him is because they want us all to rally around him, like you said, so that he'll be the nominee, because I think head to head he probably loses.
I agree. I think he's the only one that can lose at this point, and he will.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be a circus, but it'll be interesting.
So there's a great line that I heard a new part of it. You've heard the term "not my circus, not my monkeys."
Not my circus, not my monkeys, right?
Yeah, but there's a third line to that.
Oh.
Not my circus, not my monkeys, but I definitely recognize the clowns.
Okay, I got to write that down. I like that. I like that. Very nice. Way to bring it home, David. I appreciate that. That is perfect. That's a great way to wrap things up. Guys, I appreciate you doing this as always. It's fun to see you and hang out with you and share thoughts and ideas and catch up. And I don't know what August has got ahead of us, but we'll figure out a date. I've got eye surgery and all kinds of craziness going on the next month. Oh, hey, we're getting a roof. So I got that to look forward to. But
I got mine several months ago.
Yeah, they finally, for some reason, it took the city a month to approve the permit to get my roof done. And so that's happening Tuesday. So my cats are going to freak out. All the beating and banging. All right, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And there's a fur ball there. It's like, I'm not impressed. Put me down. All right. Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Have a good one.
Have a great evening. We'll talk to you next month.
All right, thanks.
See you later.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.